K.T.E. Put it all together, and what do you get? A wrestling podcast unlike any other. Hello, and welcome if it's your first time. Today, we ask the question, what if two bald men and a guy with itchy nuts get together and have a podcast? We ponder, what if? And ponder, we shall. Konner, biggest WrestleMania what ifs?
The biggest what if in WrestleMania is, what if Kurt Angle never left WWE in 2006? What kind of WrestleMania matches could we have gotten at WrestleMania 23, 24, 25, all the way up to his retirement in WrestleMania 35? I think we could have seen like an Orton or a Shawn Michaels, but another Shawn Michaels, versus Kurt too. But that's my what if for the WrestleManias.
A lot of what if questions in regards to the Kurt Angle situation, because as Elijah was even saying, and you might expand upon this a little bit, that would leave TNA without a big chunk of that Kurt Angle development and the main event Mafia.
I mean, think about it. He was the face of TNA when he first came over there. I mean, him, Sting, he really helped TNA really become pretty crazy, pretty wild.
Yep. Put him on the map.
His charisma, that Kurt Angle, his charisma was unlike any others. And when you get him all perked up, I mean, he just
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Perk Angle, Peak Angle, whatever you want to call him, that era of Angle, the wrestling machine era of Kurt Angle, is one of the most highly remembered fondly of periods of wrestling. He put on some of the best matches, had some of the best character work. It was the first instance of the title collector.
Yep.
Him going to New Japan and TNA and NWA, winning pretty much all the titles. It was belt collector Kurt Angle.
Yep.
And that same era was him when you see it on the internet all the time, him jumping off the stage, doing the somersault off of the stage in TNA. So yeah, what are you thinking in your head if Kurt Angle, let's give him an extended period of time. Let's say he stayed for an extra 5 years.
Okay. So they probably put us at
2011,
2011,
maybe. 2010, 2011, say around. If we've got 5 more years out of him, what kind of matches would you have liked to seen in that time period?
I probably would have liked to have seen him and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I know we got them at the not the Royal Rumble, the No Way Out pay-per-view, but I would have liked to have seen that as a WrestleMania match for the world title, because Kurt Angle is one of the most decorated athletes we've ever had, and then you have the Phenom, The Undertaker. That just is a match right there that just makes itself. And then the possibility of, what if Taker doesn't win the first time? There's always a what if Taker loses, and but yeah. So I would have liked to have seen that. Maybe an Edge feud at WrestleMania. Obviously a Cena feud, whether that be the right after WrestleMania 23 or 5 years later at WrestleMania 2011. So I don't know. There's so many avenues I would have liked to have seen with Kurt back in WWE if he didn't leave.
That whole era could be interesting too, because at the time it seems like ECW had a big problem with this. They had 2 people that were pegged to lead the brand into bigger and better things. First being Kurt Angle, and the what if he would have stayed. What would have ECW looked like with Kurt Angle? I know Elijah and I are getting ready to talk about One Night Stand 2006. Could you imagine that Kurt Angle as ECW champion?
Oh, I know. I think he would have done a little bit of a better job. I think ECW would have lasted maybe a little bit longer, and their ratings would have been a little bit better. Not shooting down Rob Van Dam. That's who they chose, obviously, to win the title. And, and he did a great job. But, like I said, Kurt Angle has that charisma, that, just all out, balls to the wall.
They traded Percocet for marijuana as their face.
Yeah. ECW wrestlers had a tendency to struggle with substance abuse.
Well, you're telling me Sandman's beer drinking habit wasn't
constant
smoking mirrors?
Smashing of the beer in your head might, affect your ability to drinking random France beers.
That couldn't hinder anything.
No, the kendo stick to the head. Yeah.
Well, yeah, making himself bleed like Christopher Daniels.
Oh,
Ugh. Yeah,
what
that
a
was
botch.
bad.
With that said, 2006, Kurt Angle and Onward could have put together some really big matches, but Konner mentioned Undertaker and Kurt Angle. I'm understanding you've got a what if that deals with one of those guys as well.
So, I'm sure everyone has thought about this, but what if the Undertaker did not lose to Brock Lesnar? I mean, what if they just let it die? Like, he just went undefeated and just left it. Because let's be honest, the matches after Brock, I mean, I just don't think they were that great. And it just seemed like we were kicking a dead horse. We were just beating it. I don't know. I just think they either should have just let him lose and that be it, or just let him win and just not have that anymore. Because like I said, I personally think the matches after that just lost its flair. You know what I mean? I mean, he's like, oh, he's already been defeated. Like, for a long time, WrestleMania was all about the streak. It was, and towards the end, he only came back around that time. And I think if Lesnar didn't beat him, though, I think, I mean.
Well, it would have definitely shifted the narrative a little
bit
as far as the tension in the matchups. It would have meant a lot more, even if he would have never lost at that point. But who knows? You imagine, and this is a big missed opportunity, a big what if to springboard off your thing. Sting versus The Undertaker never happened.
Yeah.
Not even just at WrestleMania, just never in WWE.
I know.
And can you imagine an undefeated Undertaker facing Sting at WrestleMania 31? Now, granted, the Bray Wyatt match was okay. It wasn't bad.
No,
but it wasn't anything special.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the other matches, they just, like the Shawn Michaels one. I mean, that's one of the best ones. I mean, that was awesome. It just
otherworldly special. In fact, that 4-year stretch, we talked about this. It's hard to imagine a 4-year stretch like that as far as Mania appearances and matches.
If Roman, if Taker would have been a little bit younger during this time, when Roman Reigns was in his, it would have been cool to see Roman. If Brock didn't do it, I think Roman definitely could have.
Well, he did beat him during that time period.
Yeah, but I mean to end, like
officially end.
Officially, I'm talking about people who, if Brock didn't do it, who else could have done it?
And that's where I disagree with you, because if you're gonna let Undertaker defeat Brock, why let the streak die in general? Like, what's the point of ending the streak? I agree with the point with they should have just let it be. He's undefeated, but I mean, you had so many times, I guess, between WrestleMania 20 and 30 that every single person was like, "Hey, do you want to break it?" They're like, "No." Edge, Batista, Randy, like they've all said no. So, and then it's like, okay. Or what if we had gotten a John Cena versus Undertaker WrestleMania? Undertaker's still undefeated. Yeah. John Cena's talking smack about him. Bam, it sets up the streak versus the career of John. And you could have had John put him over.
Yeah.
John
could have won, but obviously it was a 5-minute squash match, which we talked about before. But, but I think if you're going to do it, Roman was going to do it, or just let it die, like you had said.
Yeah, either way.
I would say in the span of matches that happened after he lost the streak, I think the AJ Styles Boneyard match was probably the only one that was
pretty cool.
Great territory.
Absolutely. Yep. I just wish it could have been maybe before he lost. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they were terrible matches, but you guys know what I'm saying. It used to be something you really looked forward, and then after he lost, it's just kind of like
lost the luster a little bit.
It's cool seeing him, but
The Undertaker's a big special part of WrestleMania, and anytime you get him involved in something, it's special, and the streak was such a big part of that. And losing that era, losing that match.
I just remember me and you freaking out as your dad's like, "What's the big deal?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what's the big deal? You've been watching this your whole life. This is." You should be acting how we're acting.
Let me do a reenactment for you what happened.
How old were we?
We would have been 14 at this
I would
point.
say 14 or
Yeah.
15, something like that.
What we watched it, and
That room, just right over there.
yeah, right against the wall, the other room. But we watched it, and both Elijah and I were kind of being cheeky about it, saying, "Oh yeah, I think Brock's probably going to be the guy to do it. I mean, like if anyone's going to do it, it's Brock."
It made sense at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
We're talking out of our butt, just saying, "Oh yeah, if he's going to do it," not really believing that he was going to lose, and we didn't hear any of the "he won the match," the announcer going, "and winner," because, and sorry, audio listeners, it was 1, 2, 3. Ah!
We literally fell to the floor. I mean, it was just epic. It was an epic moment. I think it is. I will never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest. You guys probably hated me for that. The biggest, one of the biggest moments ever, not even just WrestleMania, but ever in WWE,
In WWE history.
And it's a shame the circumstances around it, but just to show how we reacted on that. I was a little shocked that Dad didn't think of it as a bigger deal. And I'm thinking, this is one of the most important moments in pro wrestling history, and
It's
you're
like
just
you've
like,
watched this your whole life.
he's like, "Oh, calm down, you kids." And
You're
it's
like,
"Excuse me, what?"
I know he's like 30-something years old at that time, but
One of the what ifs that I think about, and we watched it a little recently, is what if Ali got that spot in the chamber instead of Kofi? In modern history, one of people's most anticipated WrestleMania journeys was Kofi Mania, outside of the Yes Movement, of course, but was Kofi Mania. And he got a chance because Randy Orton and Ali got together, and Ali got hurt off of one of their matches. And he lost his chance. Therefore, WWE just had to fill a spot, and it happened to be Kofi. It happened to be a guy who we all thought was mid-card for life until the gauntlet match happens, and we all woke up and we realized, oh, crap.
oh, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Where have we been? Where have you been, Kofi?
I've always thought Kofi could be, outside of New Day. Like we were talking about earlier, like I really think Big E Kofi just carried Xavier. The wrestling wise, I don't know. It's just how I feel. But
Well, Kofi's been around
Yeah.
for so long, and
very long time.
during the time frame that we're talking about, it's a big what if. We all didn't think that that's something that would happen. When we realized there's a possibility for it, we decided, yeah, we're all going to get behind this. But you take into account a world where Ali is the guy in the chamber. Ali's doing great work right now. He was X Division champion last year and in TNA, and then this year he's going to be going for the world title. But he's got a politician's gimmick, and he's doing really well at it. But at that time, Ali really didn't have the traction that Kofi did.
Right.
He didn't have the history. He didn't have the backstory for people on the roster for the fans to care about. So if he would have been in the chamber, I'd imagine, okay, he probably gets eliminated fairly early, and we all go on about our day.
Yep.
And it happens that Kevin Owens versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, and we have an okay world title match, and that's about the end of it.
Okay. I can agree with that because, yeah, at the moment you like you said, the moment you wake up the next morning, like, wait, did Kofi really pull that gauntlet off? And then they're like, kind of pick up steam, like, hold on, Kofi's been here, like you said, Kofi's been here so long. It's like he's done everything except the one thing that he's now in line to do, and you kind of have to back that because here's a guy who's been with the company for 15 years at this point. And why hasn't he ever gotten the chance? So,
And it breathed new life into the New Day.
yeah,
It made them a popular act, and it helped
They're amazing.
into the next couple of years, helped launch Big E's single career.
yeah,
If Kofi doesn't get that opportunity, who's to say that Big E does?
Yeah.
Who's to say that they're just not tag team guys and tag team only?
Xavier, never.
Right, Xavier probably wouldn't have got King of the Ring at
Yeah.
that point.
Oh, the one thing he's done in his career. Yeah, that one thing. Yep, that's right.
Well, hey, you
That
know,
one time.
But that springboard opportunities for all of the New Day to have that, and who's to say that they would have just fallen to obscurity if that doesn't happen? They're not as fondly remembered, and this is coming from a guy who is a huge fan of the New Day, love the New Day, but that what if makes me sneeze with lamentations. So that's just what I'm thinking about. It would be a whole interesting scenario in which if Kofi never, who's to say, maybe Dolph Ziggler would have been the guy they chose because it should have been him.
Mm.
It should have been me. Yeah.
Maybe that's the what if that we live in.
What if Dolph
That's the
Ziggler-
one thing about this sport that makes it so awesome. Because, yeah, okay, Kurt went to TNA. What if he'd stayed? Yeah, The Undertaker lost to WrestleMania. What if he didn't lose?
Mhm.
What if we never got Kofi Mania? That would have also answered the question, what would have happened to Brock? What would have happened to Kofi? What would have happened to Kurt if Kurt didn't decide to, if Kurt just was like, you know what, I don't want to go anywhere, I want to retire. Like, he could have, but...
Well, he's been doing the rounds on podcasts saying he wanted to retire 10 years earlier than 2019.
Yeah.
So he could have retired earlier.
So that's the one thing about this is that's so cool is there's always going to be what if questions.
Yeah, there's plenty of what if scenarios that we left off, even ones that we were talking about. We could make a whole podcast length episode
Just what ifs.
just about what if questions.
We could.
And who knows, who's to say that maybe we won't down the line do that. But as for now, we're turning it over to you guys. Biggest WrestleMania what ifs. What do you think could have been the case if history were different? Let us know in the comments below. And next time, we give you a new topic question. We ask ourselves, what if? One more time. Stay tuned. This has been the K.T.E Wrestling Podcast.